Radio Spaetkauf. Berlin news in English.
It's Sunday, the 4th of August, 2024. This is Radio Spaetkauf, Berlin's news podcast, recording live at a House of Colour in front of a wonderful audience. I'm Izzy Choksi.
I'm Daniel Stern, and I'm going to introduce our two guest co-hosts for today. First up, he's a voice that will be familiar to listeners. Also, if you are a fan of stand-up comedy and have been out in Berlin and listening to it in either English or German, he's also from the 20% Berlin newsletter, Mr. Drew Portnoy.
Hi. Hey, great to be here. Yeah. I guess at 20%, you know me as Andrew Buckley. I have two names because I have two personalities.
Oh, okay.
But
yes.
It's nice to be here and have a reason to drink beer on a Sunday afternoon.
Your writer personality is the Buckley.
Yeah.
And your stand-up personality is the Portnoy?
Yeah, there's a reason for that, but it's 15 years old, so.
Okay. Is it a tax dodge?
I wish I was that smart. I'm not at Berlin Späti.
Yeah, he's a cash-only business. And I'd like to introduce a very wonderful and very new voice for Radio Spaetkauf. Please, let's give a huge, warm welcome to Eman Khallouf.
Thank you.
You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Eman Khallouf and from Jordan. I'm a stand-up comedian. I moved here a year ago, almost 2 years actually. I keep saying a year because I don't speak German yet, or ever. I do comedy in Arabic and in English, and I have a dog. That's very important.
Tell us more about the dog.
Well, he's a Labrador. His name is Paulito, and he moved with me from Dubai. We've been together for 5 years. We moved now.
How did you meet?
Well, he's a rescue.
Okay.
He's a corona casualty. So, yes, he was left behind. I took him. You know, when people started being scared from animals that they are the cause of corona? So he was one of these casualties. So I took him and we stayed together.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real treat. And you already introduced yourself, but Izzy, how have you been?
I've been good. I just wanted to address the fact that we haven't done one of these episodes in a while because mostly I've just been a bit overwhelmed. So the last 4 months have been pretty intense for me. All good reasons, really. I moved flat and my job was really intense and I had to get my kid into Kita. So all of these things sort of happened at the same time. And it meant that I was kind of just out of action from doing anything else for a while. But that's kind of all through and we're onto the other side of it. And I'm feeling very positive and all of these things worked very well. So yes, I'm back.
You have a light in your on your face. I didn't see for a few months there. You seem like like a person back from a vacation or who just discovered God or something.
Yeah, actually back from sick leave. So yeah, last week I had sick leave and then
were you sick or just sick leave?
I was very sick.
Okay.
Yeah, I got really sick. But now, it turns out you can take time off work and you get paid for it, which is amazing. Something that we should appreciate and something that the Democrats, I think, are putting on their ticket this year in America, which is so crazy that America doesn't have paid sick leave for family leave or something.
Well, we don't have sickness or pay. So it's a real...
Right.
We can't really do either of those.
So yeah, anyway, I am returning with a new light. I'm drinking kombucha. I'm feeling healthy. I'm wearing color in a house of color.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Have you been to your first Elternabend at the Kita yet?
So we have another one who's 6. So he's done this Kita for a long time. So yeah, we've just done the 4 months of continuous sickness.
Right.
So that's the whole.
When you've introduced the child into the
child
pool.
gets in the Kita, and then obviously it's just 4 months of sickness, as you both well know.
Yeah, I don't go to Elternabend and I don't read the emails unless they send an email which says that you didn't read the previous email. They have to elevate the information somehow for me.
I have to say I've always taken a good half step back from any kind of role in the, Kita situation.
I got so frustrated at nobody doing anything that then I volunteered for it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
No.
That's the number one recruiting technique of bureaucracies and self-administered organizations is fail.
Just wait for Drew to raise his hand.
Iman, how's your summer been?
Well, it's been interesting. I'm living now outside Berlin, actually. And for a couple of months, I'm living in the countryside, which is very interesting once you come back to Berlin. and you see all the loud people and like Hauptbahnhof. Once you land in Berlin, it's like, I miss the pee smell.
Right?
And the random trash everywhere.
Yes.
It's less stressful walking the dog in the countryside because it's cleaner than my house outside. I swear they're so clean.
How
so
far
clean.
outside are you?
3 hours and a half in the train, 2 hours in the car.
Isn't that like France?
Yes. Like, the thing is, like, the whole population is 1,000 people there. Yes, it's in Saxony.
What?
So,
Jesus.
yeah, that's why I'm blonder now.
Wait, did you dye your hair or did it just
No, I
slowly
dyed.
does that just
Well, my dog is actually getting lighter. He's brown, now he's blondish.
okay?
It's just like the effect of people over there. I don't think they use x-rays there. They just hold them in the sun. Like, you can see through. Yeah, it's very interesting. But the neighbors are very nice.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, they thought that I don't speak.
Right.
Like I'm mute. Because I just shake my head. I don't speak any German. And
Right.
that's the only thing that they speak there.
Right.
And then my boyfriend actually told them that I'm a foreigner.
Is he German?
He's German.
Okay.
He's very German, East German.
Okay.
He's like, I got one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's so proud, but it's I always keep telling him, like, it's a bit racist because I'm very white. So you got the whitest of the Arabs.
Oh, right.
You know, like, I'm going to try something like a curry, but not spicy. It's the same. It's like so this is what happened. But
Right.
he's very, very proud. Like, I'm
Like
the
butter
foreigner.
chicken isn't really.
Yeah, it's like, it's not even butter chicken, it's chicken. It's like, so yeah, it's been very interesting. But like, I miss coming back. Like, I come every couple of weeks, every week. So that's my summer.
How's
for
the
now.
stand-up scene out there?
Very interesting. I do that a lot at home. It's like in summer, there's not much, like a lot of shows been canceled because people want to sit outside. Even like some locations are closed for the comedy. So it's like, it's a slow season. Also, the Fringe is happening.
Oh, right.
So it's a slow season usually at this time of the year. Last year it was the same. So
Right.
we didn't do much during the summer. So we're
everyone's
back in
in
September.
Scotland,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time for us comedians who are too lazy to go fly to Edinburgh to like swoop in on everyone's turf.
Well, it's like being jobless and like not doing comedy is not good for anything.
Yeah.
For
right.
anyone.
Okay.
I cook. I became a housewife.
Hausfrau, I believe is the term.
Yes. And
First word in German.
yeah.
That's the only one they want you to know.
No, I know. No, I actually know mit Karte bitte. I'm so proud.
That was very
That's
good.
a Great, that's
I'm so proud. That's the only thing I can say, and I say no to everything they told me.
Yeah. You don't even have to say
That's
the
my
bitte.
answer. 9
Yeah.
9.
for anything.
Oh, well, I love that. That's fantastic. What about you, Drew?
Well, yeah, German comedy is actually booming. I'm on stage every night, so I'm just very busy at the moment, shockingly. I was waiting for the Sommerloch in comedy, which happened, but in German comedy, it didn't happen.
Didn't we just have the Fringe here? Like our own Berlin Fringe,
Well,
where
that's like
everyone
the-
was testing their Fringe stuff?
Yeah, every Comedy Cafe has a Fringe thing, but
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, it's always nice whenever there's like something big international happening near Berlin or in the same continent, we get some good spillover.
So,
then,
shall we do some news?
Yes, I think we should.
So we can now announce an end to the Cold War Museum. Launched in November 2022, the Cold War Museum, a 2-floor tourist attraction in Unter den Linden, has closed its doors. The project, which featured a logo almost identical to Berghein's logo, was created by director Carsten Kohlmeier, who also launched Berlin's Samurai Museum, the German Espionage Museum, and the Dali Museum, which closed in 2021. The Cold War Museum filed for bankruptcy back in April, but the closure came to light only this week. One less museum of over 170 in the city today. So out of all those museums that company actually runs, their one about the history of the place that the museum is actually in is the one that they couldn't keep open. I just found that really...
Wait, what? The place of
they have this like espionage museum,
Right.
the spy museum.
Right.
They also have a samurai museum in Berlin, but the one about the Cold War, no, that's the one that doesn't work in Berlin. I just found that quite.
I mean, maybe it was they just had a lot of overhead. There was a lot of virtual reality.
I feel like it's kind of just like the Cold War is about like getting people to do nothing. Like that's the idea. Like you stand there and you're so armed that nobody does anything.
Right.
So of course you go bankrupt because nobody did anything.
Yeah, it was funny because their mission was to like sort of present the Cold War to like a younger generation who might not understand what it is. And I sat and I tried to think about how I would explain it in some way that was compelling. And I was like, well, no, it doesn't. I don't know how to make you understand that everyone just thought they were about to get nuked.
Yeah. I spent all of elementary school looking at the clock thinking in an hour I could be dead.
Yeah.
That's the Cold War.
I'm a little younger than you. I was just like, man, Drew seems stressed.
So I thought that it's not possible to top the documentaries that have been made about the Cold War until Netflix's The Bomb, the moment that changed the Cold War or something like that on Netflix came out like recently. Has anyone seen it?
No.
It's fantastic. I was watching it whilst I was sick last week.
Yeah, I think you should. I think documentaries are obviously they're killing off museums.
Well, anyway, according to Monopole magazine, they're going to auction the assets from the museum. So you could, for example, buy a 360-degree virtual reality recreation of the soldier jumping the border at Checkpoint Charlie. Or you could own a NASA or a CCCP spacesuit. Which? I would buy the Russian.
Yeah, it's way cooler.
Yeah.
It's like orange and stuff. Yeah. What else they got?
You could buy an S-75 anti-aircraft missile. We'll be bidding on that one, definitely. Or an Olympic torch from 1972.
Not bad.
Interesting year of choice.
Randomly. Snoop Dogg bidding for that one.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I haven't watched much Olympics, but him carrying the torch was rather a cool thing for the 3 seconds of Olympic coverage I got out of that.
Well, he needed a lighter.
Say what you will about the French. They do cool shit.
No.
Iman, what else is going on?
Well, the fence around Görli continues to face legal and budgetary hurdles because the beloved park we all know and love, and we love to go there for no special reason. When asked when reconstruction will begin, the spokeswoman Petra Nelken answered, well, we cannot predict the future, which is strange because like they need to plan it. It's a lot of money.
Right. Well, what she said was, wir können vorab keine Fakten schaffen. So we cannot create facts in advance, which is a fantastic way of saying
we're not planning.
Yeah.
we will spend the money.
When will it be ready? Well, no one could know.
Wishful thinking.
Isn't that your job to know?
So there's 13 toilets that they want to clean and have people work there, make sure that they're safe, and it will cost more than 1 million to keep them working for 2 years.
Right. Yeah. So the money for the fencing and the wall and the closing it off is still like in all sorts of debate and legal troubles, but toilet cleaning money has coming through.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They want to no longer have them be spaces for, I don't know, that are gross.
But I feel like we don't have to be cynical about this. I feel like that is like one of the things that is good. Like that's one of these news stories where we're like, okay, actually, this is a good thing, right?
Right.
I
think so.
13 toilets, public toilets, are always a good thing.
Right. They've been there. The toilets they built a while ago,
and they're going to be cleaned, and they're going to be staffed.
They're going to. I think this is actually a thing where it's mainly just a smokescreen for more policing.
The thing is, they want the people who will work there to actually defend the places.
Right. So the idea is like you know.
Okay.
So
that's sinister.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got to
that's
it.
my interpretation of it. This is one of these are like these gray boxes that are maintained by that company, like the Wall, which is like a weird name for a company that does public things in Berlin. But like, so you may have seen them. Like, there's one near here that they keep fixing it up. Like they'll put on brand new tiles and then take all the tiles off. And like, I feel like there's some weird scam going on where they're just like, oh, no, we got to make it. It's not working. Because no matter what happens when you put a public toilet up in Berlin, it's not going to stay perfect. Like there's going to be like graffiti, intravenous drug use, and like just whatever people want to do to it. So now they're going to have 4 people patrolling in 2 shifts 24/7 going around Görli just to keep the toilets nice. But like Izzy said, maybe it'll work.
Jobs.
As someone who walked into one of these once to just, do what people do, and it looked like a war zone. Like, and I'm totally fine with like, I think like they should be able to do their thing in there. And if it has to look like a war zone afterward, fine. But then somebody can clean it up. Then I can do my thing. Then they can come back and do their thing. And I think you're right. Probably is policing. But I think it should be a public toilet that everybody, and I mean everybody, can use. And if it costs a little extra money, totally fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, the public toilet near my house, I've seen more people just go behind it to pee than I have seen go in it to pee.
Well, it's scarier.
Yeah.
Go inside.
It's like, yeah, maybe the wall company, they could just make small, like little wall, like maybe all of these like coin operation and plumbing and electricity. That's another thing people use them for, is to siphon off electricity for their own purposes.
Yeah, but there are actually ones with urinals on the back side.
Yeah.
And they got totally criticized because they were for men only then, because women couldn't use the urinals on the back side. So they got criticized for putting a place for us to pee behind them.
Right. Well, maybe they just need. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to blame women, but
and not either. I'm just saying, like, they tried to like come up with
Feminism, we need to be.
Like the whole point was the toilets themselves should just be free.
Yes, absolutely.
And to answer your question of why these are all around Berlin, it's a very easy way for Wall, the company, the advertising company, to get public money, to funnel tax money into a private company.
No, that can't be.
Drew, what do you...
Sorry.
Conspiracy theory.
Sorry. I know it's a new idea.
So one stop up on the U1 at Kotti, the Green Party Bezirksbürgermeisterin Clara Herrmann has put forth a proposal to turn the area around the station into a car-free city square. The roundabout would become a T intersection of Skalitzer and Koppeserstrasse with no car traffic moving north from the station. And when I tried to think this through in my head, I just don't get what that means. Who would be able to go where, and where would the traffic stop?
So cars would stop essentially at the station and able to go east or west from there. But then north of the station, it would be like an open area where you could wander through the green fields and interact and socialize. And this is 100% never going to happen. There's some support for it, and it sounds very nice. She also got criticized. She's one of these Kiezmayers who like doesn't live in the area. So one of the things she said is these people here I'm paraphrasing, don't have balconies or accessing. And then like immediately people were like posting photos of these buildings just full of balconies and things. It's just sort of like, I mean, I'm all for it, but it's also...
But why there?
Happen.
It's very like that area is really heavy trafficked and with people and cars and everything.
Yeah. But it's a nightmare. If you drive through there in your car, you have to go about 5 miles an hour because you're just going to run out. It's such a horrible intersection. There's so many people, so many bikes. It's just lawless. Beautiful. You cannot close off enough streets as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And you can just go down a block down in either direction and get on Oranienstrasse to get out of there. But I'm as lazy as everybody else, so of course I drive through there like a moron. Please close it. Save me from myself.
Yeah, I mean it could be really sweet, and but it's 100% a pipe dream. I think. I mean, there's plenty of money to build new police stations there. But not, I don't think.
The weirdest police station in the world, I think.
Really? Have you seen it from the inside?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I did not know that it's a balcony, basically. It's like an extra space, and they told me this is police. I'm like, where?
Yeah.
Like, have some respect for authority. What is this? No, I'm just kidding. It looks weird. It's like they try to hide it, but it's too obvious. Like it's just weird.
Moving on, more transportation news. While BER Airport is beginning to win over some passengers and international accolades and shows signs of not just functionality but pragmatic changes, the airport is still finding no new ways to fail. BER has a ban on night flights, which actually starts at 11:30 p.m., but allows a 30-minute window for flights delayed in takeoff. Last week, a Eurowings flight from Spain was on its way down to the landing strip when the tower informed the pilot he had missed the deadline by seconds. He was just 84 meters away from the runway and he had to pull up and go to Hanover.
It was like 200 Spanish tourists who were like, enjoy Hanover.
It was actually the second plane. 2 of them have had to do it.
Oh, really? I mean, I couldn't, but like when I read it was like 10 like they calculate because they couldn't pull them up with only 10 seconds to spare. So as they were landing, they were calculating that they would be 10 seconds late and therefore had to turn around.
They had to have known. Do you know how closely calculated all these flights are these days? They knew the Tuesday before that plane was going to be late.
Yeah. I mean, the passengers were saying like we could feel them speeding up. Like we were like you're watching. There's the you can watch the in-flight thing, and it's just like the speedometer is just going up and up on that plane. But no,
I think they did it on purpose. They didn't like the pilot. Like, you can't. This is like the train fine, be late, the bus fine, but it's a plane.
Right.
Or maybe it was the tourists. They didn't like the tourists. This set of tourists had a really bad reputation coming from, the lounge, the airport lounge.
Okay.
And they were like, not coming in here.
I wasn't aware that any tourist had a good reputation. Like, I don't even like myself when I'm a tourist.
So the AfD is somehow still making headlines with very old news. They are straight up Nazis. This time with a campaign poster that features a mother and a father standing over 3 adorable children. The parents' arms are extended in what can most easily be described as a Nazi salute. AfD officials responded with their typical Captain Renault type response, something along the lines of, I'm shocked to find that fascism is going on in this party. Glib Casablanca reference aside, the rise of the right in Germany is horrific. Police statistics on right-wing incidents in Berlin schools, which, while undoubtedly underreported, show a dramatic rise. 2021 saw 41 such incidents, with the number increasing to 64 in 2022 and 70 in 2023. The first 5 months of this year have already accumulated 48 reports of right-wing crimes in Berlin schools. Grim. Grim. What
Drew, say something cute.
Well, in all honesty, when I saw the picture, I didn't see the salute.
Really?
No. For me, it was like a Getty image. Like, the images we buy online.
Yeah.
It looked like it. If you
stock
remove
photography.
If you remove the AfD logo, it will be a normal real estate ad.
It is, in fact, a stock image, and the image company said they're misusing the picture.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you did not see the Nazi salute in that.
Right.
And the ad itself is actually a right-wing
I'm naive.
dog whistle.
I know. When I showed it to my boyfriend, I was like, do you think this is Nazis? He's like, yes, for sure. I'm like, I think you guys are very sensitive.
But the woman is using her left arm.
Yeah.
They also sort of said, well, it's not our fault. We outsourced our campaign posters to another company. So
but
don't blame us.
There's 50 people to approve shit before they go live. So we know that. It's like, but for me, I think it's their logo is the problem, not the picture. Like if you put their logo on a tomato,
that's true.
people will be offended. So I think it's their logo. Like even if it's white people, we see that in IKEA. Like a perfect picture of a perfect white family. What's wrong with that?
IKEA's actually got very diverse though. I'm at IKEA most weeks with the whole moving situation.
Just an example. I didn't mean IKEA.
But I just don't want to badmouth IKEA. IKEA have very diverse campaign imagery, campaign of their commercial campaign.
They're also lacking the Nazi salute.
Yeah.
That
they
does
need more.
make a
And
difference.
they
I feel like
have
they would catch that.
When they have
vegan
the bunk
meatballs.
beds, like
Yeah, that's true.
which are amazing.
What's that?
They have like vegan meatballs and vegetarian schnitzel. So
Totally with you on that one.
Great.
Anyways, so back to the news for transportation. The BVG has announced that as of the 1st of September, the bus drivers will not take any cash as if they did before. Tickets will only be available by Giro or credit cards, Apple or Google Pay or prepaid cards. Some critics denounce the change, which we've already experienced as a pandemic policy, saying that it's a place of undue burden on some passengers. But according to BVG, 99% of passengers already have a valid ticket with them when they are boarding. It was also presented as a way to make bus drivers work less stressful.
Yeah. That's very tough job.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
going
have to do
around
customer
in the
service
same place all the time,
Yeah.
and like with the strange people that goes on.
Has anyone heard of these prepaid BVG credit cards before? Is this like a thing? I'd never heard of this, but
Yeah.
apparently you can get them all over at like Lotto locations and the various BVG customer services. But it's something you can load up with cash, and it's transferable. Like it's not an ID-based card. I actually think it's a pretty nice tool you could use if you're like people visiting, if you have kids that you want to be able to take every time there's a field trip, I got to go out and buy tickets. I can just hand them the card. Or if there's a way you want to maybe help out someone in need who needs to be able to get around, it's a good tool for that. So I don't know. I found that to be kind of interesting. People can still use cash to buy a ticket at a machine if you want to like go into an U-Bahn station before you get on a bus. But the other thing I came across was the Berliner Fahrgastverband, which I don't know if anyone's heard of this before. This is my new favorite Berlin advocacy group. Founded in 1980. It's the Passenger Association of public transport for Berlin. And it's the oldest of these groups in Germany. And you go on their website, and it's just people who are as obsessed with public transportation as I hope you are. And they got their own magazine. It's just like any of these organizations where they have their own magazine you can read, the position papers, and I think it's a new obsession of mine that you guys will be hearing about. They had a great take. This is a quote from a recent article. A current example among many is the BVG traffic to the European Football Championship. Event traffic to the Olympic Stadium should actually be something completely normal. After all, Hertha BSC plays there every 2 weeks. But for the BVG, this event traffic is clearly a task that is almost impossible to manage. When you think about transport in the city, they really come from a place of public first, whereas a lot of the progressive stuff we see now is bike first. And they make some interesting points about the fact that the city was built around public transportation first and not bike first. And that although whenever new construction starts on, for instance, like a Deutsche Bahn line, it not only interferes with the public transportation, but also the bike lanes, and that all of these things are not really working together. And there's a lot of inefficiency there. So anyway,
I think you're making a really good argument for having them on as a guest.
Well, yeah, I only found out about them yesterday.
Okay,
so.
I feel like we want to dedicate a whole program to these guys. It also feels like another example of like this. Germany is an incredibly civically minded country. Like for whatever for whatever reason, historically, this country does do civic engagement very well. Right? You have associations for absolutely everything, and this kind of feels like one of those moments where you have an association for people who ride on public transport. Fantastic.
Do you have some more transport news?
So the Berlin Senate has scaled back plans for a network of Radschnellwege, bicycle expressways. Back in 2017, the Traffic Light Coalition announced this project as part of the Mobilitätsgesetz. They promised 100 kilometers of bike paths separated from car traffic, illuminated, and at least 3 meters wide. The 100 kilometers are now going to be scaled back to 13. At issue is cost. Ugh. The full project, which was subject of 10 feasibility studies, would have cost the city an estimated 400 million, of which only 50 million is currently being made available. Out of the 10 expected routes, 1 was already cancelled in 2022, 2 have made it into the planning stage, and 6 have been put on hold. Just 1 is being put forward for construction. The route is Königsweg Crown Prinsenweg. I do speak it though. I do.
Yeah, I think it's like RSV3 or something like that.
It's one of those ones where it's like multiple princes and you're never going to get there if you're a non-native.
I'm not joking.
And leads through Grunewald in the direction of Wannsee, Potsdam. Officials have proudly stated that planning approval is to be submitted as soon as possible in order to be able to start construction in a timely manner. But 2024 is more than half over, and with no construction applications submitted, and that process being slow anyway, it could take until 2030 for the route to Wannsee to be ready.
The original plans, though, for these bike highways are gorgeous. I mean, you should maybe I'll post a link to the image, but it's like a wheel around Berlin with spokes leading through the middle out to the sides and east-west transit. It sort of maps pretty similar to like how you would picture like a good like a public transport map of the city, and it would have been really something lovely, I think.
When have non-authoritarian governments been able to create infrastructure mega projects? Seriously, genuine question. It takes so much in a democratic society to be able to actually do like a mega project like that.
I think it's easy if it's like, every country does the Olympics. They just like build a thing. You just have to like make it about something that is supported by a cola brand.
Or for show off. Like they built all of that because everybody will be visiting.
Yeah.
So it's just like when you clean because you have guests.
So in Paris, they're like, oh God, everybody's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
you don't do it for yourself. That's a problem.
Don't do it for yourself. Only if your mom's coming.
Yes.
So Dan is not the only one who thinks there's not enough being done for bikes in Berlin. You can sometimes just make your own bike path. Like this last Thursday, 100 meters of Berlin Allee were given a new bike lane by members of Sand im Getriebe. That means sand in the gears. The lane, which looked somewhat official, was swiftly dealt with by local authorities who decommissioned it by spray painting over the stenciled image of cyclists with big Brat green X's.
You know what Brat green
I do not. I read that. I was like, what's it?
Oh, yeah. I was being cool. Brat green is that like bright green color, which is like traditionally thought of in fashion as ugly. But like comes up every few years, like in the 90s, it surfaces and now is like a very cool thing to wear if you're like
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris
Trying.
or
Too hot.
like Billie Eilish. Is that a person?
Yeah. Brett.
Isn't it called neon green?
Charlie XCX.
It's neon. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's who you think.
Sorry, not.
I'm cooler than you, it turns out.
At any rate, they spray painted over. So they spent a kind of legitimate looking bike lane, and then the ordering example, whatever, just over these like white stencils. They just spray painted big green X's as if like that would decommission the bike lane. Like, no, it's not a bike lane. You can tell there's X's over the thing.
No, but that's like a German thing when they do those construction sites. They put X's over things. And the problem is when they put an X over a legitimate bike lane, I never understand what that means. Does that mean this is closed and only bikes? Or is it closed as a bike? Like, it confuses me, these X's they put on things. I never know what they're trying to tell me.
X usually means not the thing.
Yeah, but sometimes it's confusing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't figure out
No
what
means
they mean.
no, Drew.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that hurt. And also the bike that they put on this to make it look like a bike lane. It looked like my children had drew the bike.
Oh, come on. You've got to give them some
I'm glad
credit.
they tried it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the irony of the thing is, so they put the big brat green X's across these bikes, and Ponko says they're going to come out and they're going to do a ride and cover over these things with a professional cleaning team. But the irony is that Sandem Getriebe, these activists that did it, their paint is actually made of chalk and will just wash away eventually. So they don't need to do anything. Once again, I'd like to point out another way to shovel tax money into the private sector.
But there is one new low carbon way to travel at speeds of up to 40 kilometers an hour here in Berlin. A Bobbahn has opened next to the Gardens of the World in Hellersdorf. I don't know, bobsled, but with Bahn. So this is what, like when I was a kid, we had something called an alpine slide. Drew, does that mean
straight
anything
up?
to you?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So and these were like they would often be at like ski places during the summer, and they were like concrete strips that you would put a sled on and then just go down and hope you didn't die. It's just like one of those things that you're like, they just didn't exist after the 80s. Just there's but there had been a previous track but the owners promise new safety features on this modern Bobbahn, much better than the previous track that had been destroyed in 2022 by arson. So it's maybe also haunted. Anyway, I'm going to go try it. I'll tell you if it's worth the $650 to go down there. And although I will say this, children under school age are free. So yeah, you can just toss a baby on this thing and slide them down a mountain.
The goal on the Alpine slide was always to do the whole thing without touching the brakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Our first guest today, a board member at Deschoolonize. Please join me in welcoming Greg Onwuegbuzie. Greg, how's it going?
Hello there. I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome to the show. I would like to start by just having you tell us a little bit about the e.V., Deschoolonize, and what your mission is.
Yeah, so we are an NGO, officially founded in 22. Got some state funds now for 24, 25. And we're doing workshops in schools about German colonial history. And besides that, we're actively participating in the change of school curriculum. So we're trying to get it integrated in the curriculum. Yeah.
How colonized was the curriculum, or is it right now? Like how much of an issue is this?
We think it's a big issue because it's not spoken about at all.
What happens in your workshops? What happens when you go into the schools?
We're doing this for a while now, and basically the kids never even heard of the word. So if they come out on top and say, okay, we now know what colonialism is, it's already a win for us.
Is it challenging to get into schools?
The process is a lot of work for the teachers, I would say, because they actually have to come to us. The schools are sometimes helping with that process, but yeah, it's not that easy. But yeah, we're also trying to push forward that we help the schools to actually book us. So
is there ever negative feedback? Is there any, obviously you're going to schools where the teachers want you or where the administration's happy with you. Is there challenges?
I would say so far not. We have great feedback so far from the kids, from the teachers. They actually want us there. They're very thankful that we are there, and we we do the work we're doing. So it's been nothing but great, I would say.
And are there projects that you guys are doing outside of the schools?
I mean, we did a big event. Our big launch event was in February, but we're also doing different stuff. We're doing movie screenings. Now we're planning holiday programs for kids that are, families that are unable to actually pay for real holidays, so they can go to a place and have some workshops and do games. So, yeah.
Back in February, that was part of Black Future Month?
Exactly.
Yeah. Tell us what Black Future Month is.
I think for me personally, it's a way to think the future creatively and differently, and to empower the community to, think of different ways of the current state.
Could you talk a little bit about the sort of like theory of change here? Because as it's called Deschoolonize, I guess the idea is to decolonize the historical narrative of Germany. And I guess like what could you talk to us a little bit about the idea of like what difference does it make to bring children especially and bring the education around colonialism to schools? Like how does that affect people long term into their young life and also into their like middle age and older age?
I think it will affect the future a lot, because bringing awareness to that topic and actually make them understand how our current life is constructed and what the past year has been about is really important also in our everyday decision and how we confront other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking like about how Germany like moving to the right at the moment and getting like these incredibly high percentages for the AfD in elections is showing us that maybe all of the education that they've had for the last 30 years around National Socialism and the Holocaust isn't necessarily doing what people thought it could be doing or was doing. And how do you think, like, what can programs like this do to help sort of educate German people as to their historical past?
First of all, I would like to say we're a non-political organization, but I think whenever you see people that are either unhappy or not content with the political situation, they'll tend to go right.
That was very diplomatic. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, coming from the United States, where we have made all of our history and our public education 100% propaganda, the amount of things that I had to learn as an adult about what my country is well, I'm glad I've had the chance to learn it now. So, and I do see that, you know, whatever it's called in Germany, the remembrance culture is got a narrow narrative, and doesn't necessarily, the lessons don't always get applied more broadly. So no matter how many times you can be like, don't be Nazis or don't do another Holocaust, it doesn't necessarily, don't be mean to Jews doesn't always translate into be accepting more broadly and inclusive. So yeah, it's important to let people know their whole history, no matter who they are. Yeah, the film programs, like some of which we've done here at House of Color, have been very cool, and that's one way for people to get involved. Is there other things that you guys, or that the program is looking for in terms of help or donations, or is there places to go get more information?
I mean, we're online everywhere. Deschoolonize.com is the website. Deschoolonize on Instagram if you use it. Probably going to launch also a TikTok channel soon, just to educate kids also on that medium. How can you support? I mean, there's a lot of things coming, but I think we launched a petition in 2020, which reached over 120,000 signings. Yeah. And we're trying to launch something similar within the next couple, 4 or 5 years, to actually have official referendum and to incorporate our demands again, so that government is actually forced or moved to make these changes happen. Yeah, so when the time comes, I hope everyone is signing those. So I think this
in an apolitical way.
Yeah, I mean, I think history is apolitical unless you're writing it, but the path of time doesn't have politics. I really appreciate you coming on, and look forward to seeing more out of Deschoolonize. What about for teachers or school administrators who are maybe learning about your program or your workshops for the first time? I know at least 3 school teachers who listen to this show, and one of them who's actually helps make it. So how would they go about reaching out?
Yeah, actually, the easiest way is to go to our website. I mean, we're now deconstructing it to making it even more easier. But just go to the website or just write an email. Like, we have phenomenal people in our group that will take care of it and help with the process.
Wonderful, guys! Give it up for Greg and Deschoolonize.
And also, I got to excuse myself. It was such a fun podcast before. I changed the mood kind of a little bit, but I hope it was still fun.
No, you were great.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
What ages do you guys have? Like, what age groups you work with?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we also did some workshops with 5th graders. But for me personally, I think around 12, 13 it's just fine, because before kids just want to play.
Yeah.
And so I would say like from 13 onwards.
Okay.
Excellent. Drew?
I have no questions.
All right. Then I'll hit a stinger. And once again, thank you for coming on Radio Spaetkauf. As I mentioned earlier, Drew, our guest host, has a newsletter called 20% Berlin. It's a great way to catch up on your news. Even if you're trying to put together your own news podcast, it can be a great thing to just plagiarize directly from. So we'll call this next section...
Copy paste.
Yeah, copy paste.
As the copyright owner, I'm fully all right with that. You can take as much as you need. At 6 a.m. on Tuesday morning, cops paid a visit to the headquarters of far-right magazine Compact, housed at the private address of publisher Jürgen Elsässer in Falkensee, just beyond the Berlin city limits. The Federal Ministry of the Interior has decided to ban the magazine, which the Office for the Protection of the Constitution accuses of spreading hate against immigrants, POCs and Jews, also immigrants, POCs and Jews, via its YouTube and Telegram channels and print magazine with a circulation of 40,000. Compact spread far-right conspiracy theories and pro-Russian disinformation and propaganda, encouraged violence against our democratic order, authorities said. Elsässer has openly called himself a Putin supporter. Yeah, just banning a magazine without asking a court. They just banned it.
Fine.
I'm fine with it too, 100%. I think it's something we could do, more. You could do it more often. Democracies cannot tolerate.
I mean, it would be fine. Maybe I should just read it, check it out once, just for due diligence.
Compact.
Well, I mean, before we ban it, just ask.
So you should.
Yeah. I mean, as long as someone's checking.
Did Dan ban it? Yes.
I'm just glad it's gone because, in the climate world, there's this Compact is the biggest, boots on the ground organization for organizing all of those big marches and stuff for the climate movement. And so it's really confusing sometimes when you make a bit of a slip and you're like, Compact, and then someone's like, so now we don't have to, because it won't be a thing anymore. So if you make the mistake, it doesn't really matter.
Right. So that's great. It's sort of like the
great.
old WWF.
It's just great for me, just generally in my work.
That's great. That's reason. Anything that makes Izzy's job easier, the police should immediately take action against.
It's strange that it was like this kind of magazine that got cancelled.
Yeah. Well, we have different groups for different ministries to take down other groups.
Yeah. Well, continuing on the good news, I guess. Do we pronounce it the Charité?
Charité.
Charité.
Yeah,
okay.
It's sort of, you have to pronounce it as a German speaking French. So like if you try and pronounce it in English, it doesn't work. In German, it doesn't work. You have to do it in German with like a French accent. So
do it, Dan.
I'm good. Someone corrects me every time I've ever done it, but it's like the Charité.
Charité.
Ooh.
You made it sound like a nice place.
It is. Hey, I recently got some great tests there. All right.
Okay, I'll try with my Russian accent in every language I speak.
Yeah.
That Charité hospital has cured a second man of HIV. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah. The 6th or 7th person to be cured of the supposedly incurable disease. According to RBB, the Berlin hospital was the first to cure someone of this disease. American Timothy Brown became known as the Berlin patient after 2007 bone marrow transplant eliminated any trace of HIV in his body. That was in 2007. The same is true for the latest patient. He had not only AIDS, but also acute myeloid leukemia, which is often treated by the bone marrow transplant. So the patient had the transplant in 2015 and hasn't taken any antiviral remedies since 2018. The theory is that the transplant also replaces a patient's immune system. No way. It's so obvious.
That's what I thought. I thought, like, why isn't this
Why
treatment?
why we're not doing more of this? Like, why?
I think it's like bone marrow transplants are that's a big thing. It's a huge thing, you know, because it's like they take a piece of they saw out some of your leg bone, and then they put some
Don't look for listeners at home. Izzy's looking at me for confirmation of how bone marrow transplants work, and
and you also need to find like people who are matched to you, and for those healthy people to opt to have a slice of their leg bone taken out and then put in your leg. So I think it's like a huge. I think bone marrow transplants are not something you just throw around.
They actually, what they do is they use radiation and chemicals to kill your bones. They basically kill your entire blood system. They just radiate you till you have no bone marrow
left. This has turned into a medical podcast.
Yeah, and then they take bone marrow from somebody else. They just take a gigantic needle and they pull it out of your hip, both of your hips, and then they inject that bone marrow into the transplantee's bones, and then it grows in there.
Right.
But the problem is, you could have one tiny little piece of your old bone marrow left somewhere in your body, and that will attack the new bone marrow. So you have to have the best bone marrow wins.
Yeah. So if the International Döner Foundation gets its way, Döner, sorry, there's no umlaut there, so I pronounced it.
There actually isn't in the Federation.
Oh my God. My husband says I'm becoming more and more German, like all the time. And
in the sense of
this
humor?
is just, yeah, exactly. Like there's no umlaut where I know that there is an umlaut normally. And so I just pronounced it without an umlaut. And anyway, sorry. If the International Döner Foundation gets its way, Berlin may at least partially lose its traditional dish. The Federation has asked the European Union to protect the term Döner, much in the way it guards Italian mozzarella, Spanish serrano ham, and French champagne. According to the Morgan Post, if successful, only Döner places that make their sandwiches out of lamb or at least 16-month-old beef can call themselves Döner restaurants. Even worse, the meat strips can only be 2 to 5 millimeters thick and have to be cut from the top down using a 55-centimeter knife. German-level pinictiness. I guess my vegan Döners won't be, and you'll be eating chicken shawarma. The EU has 6 months to listen to appeals to decide.
Yeah.
What?
It's sort of like a treatment. It could happen where it's a move to for someone to own the concept. But yeah, we'll soon be eating possibly delicious vertically sliced meat roll sandwiches instead of Döner.
They interviewed Döner people and they're like, I don't care, I'll just call it shawarma or something else. I don't really care.
Every on the street interview was like, it all tastes the same, baby.
Not really.
No, well, yeah. I don't know.
But is this somehow connected to the story that Turkey is in fact saying that the German Döner or the Berlin Döner is not actually a real Döner and they shouldn't call it Döner?
That is exactly it.
That's exactly it.
Well, I said that once I moved here.
That is the International Döner Federation.
That's why there's no umlaut over the O.
No, they have.
Oh my God.
No, I'm the one that proofread this article. There is, in fact, no Döner in the International Döner Federation. That's how they.
So how do you pronounce it?
I have no idea.
The next guest we're welcoming to the stage is a voice you ought to recognize if you've heard this show before. If you haven't heard this show before, you should have. To introduce themselves, please, our next guest.
Hello, I am Joel Delroy.
Woo!
It is a very strange experience for my first time ever in my life, to be an audience member of Radio Spaetkauf and not host. But isn't it lovely that life can give you more first-time experiences and they're not all used up?
Right.
So,
Even in your mid to late 30s.
Exactly. And so nice to be back. I've been traveling for the last 9 months and got back to Berlin. And Dan said, I've only been here 2 days. Do you want to come on the show? I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say. I don't know what happened here. I haven't been paying any attention. But I can only give you my little updates as someone who's recently arrived.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So my observation on arriving here a few days ago was that there's a conspiracy of silence between, I guess, the BVG and Deutsche Bahn to keep the news from tourists that the €49 Deutschland ticket exists. So the cheap monthly pass that has been available here for, well, I don't know, whenever it went up from €9 all those months or years ago.
Last year, May.
And also the €29 Berlin pass. When you land at the BER and you go to the train station and you try and buy a ticket, it doesn't exist. It's not on any of the automatic machines. You won't find any evidence that this €49 or €29 ticket exists. And tourists arriving only have the option of buying the expensive €120 monthly ticket, which scandalously still exists, even though it doesn't need to. So if you are trying to buy one of these tickets, it's almost impossible at the airport. There's just no way you can do it.
So let me put my little German hat on again. It's disgusting. I feel like you know when like Wolverine gets injected with stainless steel or something, and then
it's not stainless steel.
and then like
it's called adamantium.
So
he becomes better.
So yeah, like you can't buy them on the machines because you have to go through this whole, it's a really complicated sign-up procedure if you sign up for the €49 ticket. I mean, they should put it on the museum, but that's why I think they just haven't like digitized it yet. And also we just got the 29 ticket back.
So I also found out that you can't buy the Deutschland ticket or the €29 ticket after the 1st of the month. If the month has already started, too bad. You're not getting that
20th,
ticket.
yeah.
You have to.
I'm an expert.
you have to get this. Yeah.
That's only in Berlin. If you download the Hamburg transport app or the Munich transport app, you can actually get it prorated for the month.
Yes.
But your point is it's not so bad. It's a subscription, so theoretically you wouldn't be able to buy it because you have to cancel it at some point.
Right.
But also the Hamburg
20th.
app, you can actually buy it and cancel it the same day, and it'll only run through the rest of the month.
It's just this curve of the introduction of anything that has ever happened in this city. You know, great idea. Oh, it's too difficult. Oh, we can't do it. We're going to do it, but we're not going to really do it well. It's going to be very difficult and cumbersome. And then everyone's going to have to come up with workarounds that you tell people word of mouth. That's how it happens. That's how all things get introduced in this city.
And then we eliminate it because it wasn't working. No one wanted to do it. Yeah. I mean, I think switching over can be tough. I know people who now have 2 subscriptions because they tried to cancel one, move to the other. So now you have 2. Right. It's great. Instead of a €29 ticket, instead of a 79, you now have a single €98 ticket.
One of them needs to hire me. I know all the loopholes.
Oh my God.
I'm one of those ones who's actually like kept my 49 one because you know when like the occasion when you're in another German city and then you realize you don't have to buy a ticket for the U-Bahn or the S-Bahn.
It's very satisfying.
It just feels so nice.
Very satisfying.
It feels great, and I'm like, oh, I don't need a ticket. Sorry, I don't need a ticket.
And with being able to take like a guest on weekends and evenings, you can't do that with the 29 either. And I feel like that's another one of those things where I'm like, you're with me. You know, like I don't want to give up that.
What, 100? You would pay €120 for that?
No, I don't want to do anything. I mean, like, I don't, what am I going to do? Go on the app, change my thing. They said they would change it, but then they didn't. I don't even know where I got my card.
They move you automatically. So you maybe
they said
paying
they
more.
Would. Yeah.
No, I was moved. That's why I ended up paying twice, and I ended up in a wrong place. And then it took them 2 months to send me the physical card, which never arrived. And then 3 weeks to be able to download it on the app.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I was paying, but I don't have anything physical. And then I printed out papers to go on trains.
Is this what you had planned, Joel?
This is exactly what I'm just so happy. I'm just happy that
public transport.
Coming back and Berlin hasn't changed at all.
No.
I love, you know, I'm just,
no.
this is
Are you the secret head of the association called the EGEB?
Yeah, I should join them.
Yeah.
So Dan actually did ask me to try and do some news about pools and lakes and the update, and I did. I don't have the payrolls anymore, so I can't read these articles that you told me to read because I cancelled all my German news paywalls. But from the URLs, I can tell you that, apparently Berlin has too few swimming pools.
Yep.
Which okay. And that
particularly in the east, and particularly with access for children.
And that only 6 of the outdoor swimming spots have had bad water tests, and the rest are all fine, apparently. They're the ones on the Havel, you know, on the west. They're the ones that have the yellow marks where you're going to go in anyway, but if you get a funny tummy afterwards, it's your own fault.
Yeah, and it could be the non-nameable sandwich meat you had afterwards, too.
So, yeah, thank you for that really lightly researched section. So obviously last month we had an incredibly moving episode come out, your and Radio Spaetkauf's tribute to Maisie. And it was, something that I personally listened to, I think 3 times in total. I kind of kept having to go back to it, and just because it's so incredibly beautiful, and her voice, as you keep saying, is just something that just rings in my ears still. And I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit about maybe the process of making that, and also about the reaction that you've had since making that. That'd be great.
The reaction has just been so touching. I mostly made it for myself, to be honest. So I made it because I felt I had to. And the part that made me feel the worst is that I wanted to do it before Maisie died. I wanted it to be like a gift to her, like a tribute to, here's all the amazing things that you said and done. And I didn't get it done. And I still feel guilty about that she didn't get to hear it. And she didn't get to hear how amazing she was. Because we all knew it, but I don't think she knew it enough, or she didn't feel it enough. But the process, actually, it took ages, but when I finally had everything edited, it all flowed together, because it was a matter of sort of just talking between her. She said all the brilliant things, and she had all these great stories, and I just had to fill in the gaps. So it did take a very long time, and it was a huge thing to do, but I'm so happy I did it, because it has touched so many people. We've had so many messages, people writing in from all over the world. And you've said, Dan, people come up to you in the streets and told you about how much it meant. People who I shared it with while I've been traveling, and they don't know Berlin at all. They don't know Maisie. They don't know the story of the podcast. And they've told me similar things like that. They've had to listen to it several times because they keep finding new things in it. And that's what Maisie would have wanted, that her words can influence people in a way. And so it's been really, really special. And thank you for everybody who's been so supportive. The messages have just been amazing. So thanks very much.
Yeah, Joel, thank you for creating it, and I'm glad you took the year to do it. It was for me, just personally, something I glad to be able to listen to a year later, and I think did healing and work for me that that outside of a mourning process or coming out of that needed a year.
Well, I just got back from my big trip, and the one thing on my list to do this week is to go to Schlachtensee and go and walk around and have a swim and think about Maisie. So that's what I'm going to go do. And then I'm back here for a couple more months before I continue doing what I've decided my goal of my life is, which is to travel and make mini documentaries and be a journalist out in the world and just be a part-time Berliner now. But while I'm here, I'm going to pop in a few times. So I'll be here. Hopefully with more to say and more actually researched articles rather than just whinging about buying a ticket and not reading the articles you assigned me, Dan.
Well, honestly, you sound more intelligent reading a URL than I do on the thing I spent 30 minutes trying to find multiple sources on and rewrite. So you can get away with it, bud.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Joel.
Berlin news in English.
I think we're about ready to wrap up the show. Does everyone have anything they would like to plug or mention?
On the 19th of September, I'm doing my solo comedy show in German. In English, it's called Accidentally German. In German, it's called Aus Versehen Deutsch. Downstairs Comedy Club. That's Felix Lobrecht's Comedy Club in Oranienburger Straße. Just in German, 19th of September.
Eman?
I'm still tanning in East Germany, so I'm planning actually a solo in English, but I don't have dates yet.
Okay.
And it should be called Reversed Kunafa.
Super. And for your Insta?
Yes, it's Emer007. That's I never changed it. Sorry. I'm like lulituti@hotmail.com. You know?
Okay.
I'm from that generation, so it's the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Links to that'll be in the show notes.
So I have nothing to plug because I have nothing outside of work and childcare and all that stress. But I wanted to say to Drew, you just passed 10,000 subscriptions for 20% Berlin, right? So if you want to plug the
20% Berlin, please sign up. We did pass 10,000. I of course thought we were going to get 10,000 in the first year, but we've been there 3 years. Yeah, moving on. We're hoping to now we can get more ad money and things. 10,000 is like a big milestone. So
very cool.
Congratulations.
I would encourage people to check out events here at House of Color. There's plenty of podcast tapings, plenty of other things as well, whether you're into running or yoga, movement, music. There's art. Go to hoko.world for more information there. And also coming up here in September is PodFest Berlin, back in for our 4th year, I think. And if you're interested in getting involved as a podcaster, as a listener, as an organizer, check out the website, follow us on socials. There's going to be a lot of news dropping starting, well, now, if you're listening to this, because I finished editing this and go to work on PodFest. Once again, I want to thank our special guest hosts, Drew and Eman. Please, a round of applause for them. Izzy, it's great to see you again. Joel and Ben, check it out. I'm Daniel Stern. Thank you, to the audience, for coming out here live. Show is over.